Go.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Questionable Perspective Podcast, episode number one, episode number 17. I don't know why I was going to say 117,
Don't
but
worry, we'll get there.
I'm your host, Chris. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Jeshua. How are you doing tonight?
Fairly well, sir. Fairly well. How about
Are
you?
you doing good, sir? Doing good. So you ready to get into it?
We
So
are
you
in
got,
for a loaded podcast.
yeah, as we are basically taking this time to take a moment of silence for another company that has fallen, as Rooster Teeth has officially closed their doors and is no more.
After 21 years, WB has tried to sell it off, but they couldn't. So this
Which,
is what happens.
which is
Um,
definitely a bad sign when you can't even sell something.
well, I mean, we're not gonna get too far into the nitty gritty as of why, but uh, it's gonna kind of suck seeing like I don't know what's going to happen in Death Battle. I know their podcasts are still going on. Uh, but like you got about 150 people out of a job now. Some of them, like you and I may know, like if you remember Devil Artemis animations, it was
Mm-hmm.
like Perfect Cell versus whatever. uh they they just I don't know. Ruby is this is just a small prediction. Ruby may get picked up by Crunchyroll and they're rebooted because I know they were involved with the part of the production of the Ice Queen stuff.
Yeah, it needs to be rebooted because I feel like he's kind of lost his way when it comes to that show. It's like it's dragging on. It should have ended a couple of seasons ago, and yet he keeps dragging it out.
Yeah,
Like
the
what?
writers are definitely dragging it out.
It's like sometimes to make a great show, sometimes it's not going to be a long couple of seasons. You can get 4 good seasons and end it on a good note, and people will remember that series a lot longer than if you made 10, 15 seasons.
What was this meme I saw? I reposted it last year, but it can't. It was like of March. It was it's Ruby trying to protect the new host of God, who's the headmaster the of the
Um,
of the Hunters
Ozpin,
Academy, Ozpin,
Ozpin.
and they're swapping each other over in the one panel. No, I'll protect you. I'll protect you. And Ozpin and like the main villain, his ex wife, basically, it's like, please just end it already. And she's like, no, no, I like this. I'm gonna leave this like this. It's just eternal struggle watching students. Oh,
Yeah, 'cause back when the Ruby first started, like it started out kind of slow, but then it
yep,
started picking up steam around that second season. And then probably the most heartbreaking one when Pyrrha dies at the end of I believe it was season 3 or 4,
yeah.
and then it was just like, oh, this is actually pretty good. And then it just slowly just started fading away and getting really ridiculous. And now they're just, and then the whole thing with Vic, and then it's like, okay, we just need to go ahead and just walk away from this one.
Well, you know how they are.
No, it was hard for me because I liked Ruby.
I
I
I
thought it was
did
good, but I thought it probably is going probably 4 more seasons than it needed to.
probably so. The I think I stopped after. Uh, it may have been 7. It was when the redheaded robot got the Winter Maiden's powers. I was like,
Yeah,
no,
I think I stopped around. I stopped at actually the last season because I just happened to just be home one day and it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna catch up on Ruby. and I just sat there and grinded through all the seasons to get caught back up. And I forgot how did it ended in a way which was kind of like they fell off into another dimension, which now
I
they're supposed to be exploring that dimension.
not anymore.
I don't know because I didn't care too much to catch up after that. I was like, this is dumb, and
I
that's when I just walked away from it.
I had to do the same. I just like, all right, y'all are ruining the story way too much. Relationships don't make any sense. The whole Vic Mignogna stuff. I was like, whatever. I'm out. Peace.
And me, I can't say because I'm still a Yang fan.
I hate what they've done to her. I love her
Yeah.
song to death. I burn. Oh man, I don't know how many times I played that damn song alone while at work, while just in the mornings doing stuff.
She's the coolest one out of all of them. Just her fighting style with the shotgun
Mhm.
shells around her wrist. Like
Very
she's the one to
versatile
me.
weapon.
She's the one to me that stands out even between all four of the main characters.
Yeah, Blake was very interesting too when you finally got to meet her parents and everything.
I mean, yeah, that she's what like a princess almost.
Almost because that's the whole her parents pretty much lead the Fawn Nation. Fawn, however you say it.
Faunus. Yeah,
And
but then they kind of just ruined those two characters.
don't get me started. Mm. All right, enough about Rooster Teeth though.
Yes.
Oh,
Let's go ahead and
but
get into the. I said let's go ahead and get into the next topic.
all right.
We
Everybody's
got this.
familiar with these folks. Everybody loves them. Crunchyroll. And I can already hear all the booings in the comments now.
I don't think love. I think more like tolerate more than.
Tolerate. I don't know if toleration is the right word for it. But for those that don't know, recently it was in one podcast episode I was just reading about. But the CEO of Crunchyroll as came out and said, yeah, they're not making money, even off ad revenues, because after we'll use was it just some weeks back, Funimation's closing, so everything you had on there is not transferring over to Crunchyroll. That would rub people the wrong way. Hiking the year price from like what is it, $54.99 all the way to
Yeah,
$100.
100 out.
That rubbed people the wrong way too, and that's why people left. I'm just sitting here. I'm like, you could have just hiked it up by like an extra $10 and not piss anybody off, probably.
I
But
think they still would have been pissed off regardless.
oh yeah. But then you also have the crazy shenanigans of like the localizers have like been screwing with a lot of anime, so that's been pissing a lot of people off too. So that's why people have been jumping ship from that or from Crunchyroll as well. But now Crunchyroll is using what was it? The Ancient Magnus Bride season 2. They used AI to translate, which I watched. I didn't see anything wrong with it, but I hope they had somebody check over all that stuff because, dear God, you, you let a machine just go run, it may just run rampant like I like cake after a long sentence, and it's like this doesn't match up with this. But they're going to
Well,
be
yeah, I'm pretty.
probably go ahead.
I said I'm pretty sure they have people that once they're done translating, they have them proofread it.
Oh, I'm sure they will, but they're going to downsize that whole. That's a great cost cut to them because all these fools that were screwing up all these manga translations and anime translations, yeah, this is going to happen. They they just gonna have to suck it up.
Yeah, and they probably would make some money if they would lower the price of those Blu-rays that they sell on that site. Cause
They
it's,
haven't been
I'm
that
sorry,
bad.
Mm,
Well, I mean, I don't
if it's
shop on Crunchyroll, so I can't say anything.
well, as long as they don't, if it's a new series, I'm thinking that you're depending on what it is, you might spend the $60 to $70 for a complete series. And I'm like, that's no. I just wait for a sale to come along and then I'll just buy it when it's like 50% or 75% off. But I think
Well,
anything, their biggest problem is the stuff they license. They don't really license a lot of like good stuff.
no, they don't. But well, they did buy Right Stuff anime, so like a lot of that changed up.
Mm, Like people can be mad about it, but
Well,
they'll come back.
no,
They're mad. Oh, go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead. I was gonna say is the stuff with Right Stuff anime. They were the other people who you would buy stuff from. Disco Media. They were the people that were doing a lot of the heavy translations and everything. And since they were both pretty much under the same company, they got bought over. So all the good translated work is still happening. It's just you have to buy it from Crunchyroll now. That's the only crappy part.
Yeah. It- but you have to just look at it like honestly, people are upset with it right now, but I guarantee, give it probably by this time next year, you'll hear Crunchyroll saying we're back in business because people are either because you only have two options. You're either gonna go to them or we're gonna hit this high seas. Those are your two options. And I know a lot of people are saying they want to do that, but the way they've been cracking down on ISPs and stuff or surfing, and you basically need a VPN if you're gonna do that, is like you're taking a risk, a real risk when you talking about sailing those high seas.
Mm-hmm. All I can say is be careful doing that, folks.
Get a VPN.
Even then,
But
I'm just don't do bad stuff. But if you're going to do bad stuff, at least be smart about it. That's all I can tell you. Dear
yeah,
God.
but it's like I understand why people are mad because they lost all their digital content. But I'm like, y'all did y'all not read the contract before you click buy? Like it says it in the contract that you do not own this. That this is basically a license that it can get pulled at any time, and they're not responsible for it. But because people don't read that stuff and they just click and they assume that when it says buy, that you're actually buying something that you own. And I'm like, no, you're just buying a license. The
Yeah.
same thing when you buy digital games, you're just buying a license. And when the license runs out or they lose their contract, whatever company, that is gone. That's why I always say buy physical.
Oh yes.
I I bought like I got tons of stuff from Funimation sitting over there, but I always bought the ones that were the Blu-ray DVD digital combo packs. So I would always have a Blu-ray copy, a DVD copy, plus a digital copy. So not just because they took it all the digital stuff away, it didn't bother me because I still got the physical stuff sitting right over there. If I want to watch
Yep.
it, I just get it and pop it in my Blu-ray player and watch it.
Yeah.
We tried to warn y'all.
What was it? Um. Damn. I'm trying to think right now. Oh. Now I remember. Dear God. Freaking Common Rider Geats. Blu-ray's coming out in like in April. I'm picking that up. Guess how much that's only going to cost me?
What are they doing about what $40, $50?
It's like 70, which isn't
That's
bad.
not bad. Which you reminded me because I needed to check when the Guyver one was coming out.
Oh, that's in May. May.
Yeah, because I
May.
needed
I
to make
still got
sure.
it. Still got
Because I
it
need
on my head.
yeah, 'cause I'm about to say because I need whenever they put up pre-orders, I need to go ahead and make sure I get me a copy.
Well, the thing is with like this is, and this is not to, this is how bad like the Japanese market is right now. We're trying not to get too far off topic, folks. But like with like the exchange rates, like Common Rider Geats being like $100 or $80, that's fairly cheap. Over there, you're like spending $500, almost $800 on a damn set.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's
Because I remember when Unicorn Gundam had came out and they was doing the volumes and stuff. Cause they only put out one episode every year or 2 episodes a year or something like that.
yeah, it
But
was.
they were like I think like $100 to $300 per disc.
Oof, I just couldn't. God, I would
I'm like,
cry.
I don't know how they do it over in Japan.
Where there's will, there's way, brother. But anyways, long story short, folks, if you want to support the people and not deal with Crunchyroll, there buy like the official merch and all that. It's one way you can do it. Just don't buy into the lie that Crunchyroll told us years ago. Yeah, the studios are getting the money. Come to find out, they're not. Made their own crappy anime and never came about.
Made a couple of crappy animes. You had what High Guardian Spice, you had Genlock, you had X Arms.
Genlock wasn't under then. Genlock was under Rooster Teeth.
Oh, that's right.
But
But
anyways, on a more, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Chris.
oh no, you can go ahead.
All right, now our next topic. So many of you that are fellow listeners know Nintendo, and know Nintendo can be great at times. Then also Nintendo can be that redheaded or the parent of the redheaded stepchild and beat us with a damn stick. No damn reason. All right, for some of y'all that know what emulation is, or emulators. There's a lot of Nintendo ones out there. I never paid too much attention to like the Nintendo Switch ones. Now, recently, this is of last week, from my knowledge, a lawsuit was placed against the developers of Yuzu emulator, which is like the most popular Nintendo Switch emulator out there. Because yeah, a lot of people don't like playing their games at 30 frames per second and all that, yada yada yada. All the problems the Nintendo Switch does have. We know it's lacking in hardware, but I mean, whatever I can say at the moment. But and they like uncapped frame rates and all this and that. But there's something now just this week earlier. I believe it was Monday. Was it Tuesday? I believe it was Monday. After this lawsuit was placed, the Yuzu Group settled for like $2.4 million to pay Nintendo. That's going to be kind of tough to pay, but I think they'll be all right. As far as everything goes, Nintendo's not really targeting any other emulators. The reason this one got targeted in particular is, and the reason I think Yuzu settled out is because emulator. I'm going to try to keep this tech talk as simple as possible for people. Your Nintendo Switch, when you put in the cartridge has an encryption key on it that allows for it to play on the Nintendo Switch. The emulator will allow you to bypass that. So you could play, like, say, the newest released Nintendo Switch game, like Tears of the Kingdom. That's why Yuzu got really popular. And apparently, and this is public information you can find, and the Discords and all that, there was a piracy section. They didn't encourage piracy, but that's from the official statement they put out, which I think a Nintendo lawyer pretty much wrote up for them. My thing is in the technology development, because if some of y'all remember, the Dolphin emulator was going to be on Steam. And what stopped that and got that shut down completely was because they found original GameCube BIOS code in the Dolphin emulator. That's why it worked so well. And I think it had some Wii BIOS code in there too. That's why it got shut down immediately. And as far as from my understanding, the emulation part was not the is that's not something that Nintendo was going for, but they went for the throat on these guys basically. And I think these developers pretty much realize we don't have the money to fight them. And I think if they were going to try to fight them, if anybody understands how how a court case goes, there's something called the discovery process, and that's where everybody gets to look through everything you have with fine tooth comb. And I think these developers may have had something, some coding that maybe duplicated the encryption key process, because that's what Nintendo mentions in their part of their lawsuit. And I mean, there were two versions of this Yuzu emulator. There was one that was already out. There's an early access one they had behind their Patreon, and they're getting like $30,000 a month. And because of how well this thing operated, people went and downloaded Tears of the Kingdom. So, and I highly recommend you don't do that with like newest releases. Don't do that unless you have officially bought a copy. Like I've done that with a couple of games I own because they're not going to play anymore on the system I don't own. But I mean, I still have the original copy, so there's nothing wrong with that as long as you own the original copy. But I mean, even like we'll say some old games from like the 80s, even 90s that you can't buy anymore. There's no issue with doing that with emulation. But do not pirate new stuff. Do not. I'm telling you that now for your own safety, unless you want to risk whatever. But man, just take that with a grain of salt. But Mr. Chris, what are your thoughts on this, man?
Well, I understand Nintendo because they do have to enforce their copyright. Because if they don't, people you pretty much from my understanding of it, if you don't enforce your copyright, pretty much you could lose it. And this was something that you don't know if they were basically spreading this game out and just allowing people to just download it.
No. They weren't putting the game out. People
I know,
started downloading Tears of the Kingdom because the emulator was out. That's how good the emulator was.
but that's a first party Nintendo game.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's good enough to do that, so that's pretty much me. All their first party stuff is possibly at risk of being people just downloading it for free.
Oh,
And
people are already doing that.
yeah, because it's like the company looking at it like we're gonna be losing sales if people could just download our games and don't even have to pay us for it. And I get it. The Nintendo Switch is getting
Yeah.
close to almost 10 years old.
I don't think it's that old. Give me a second here. Damn.
It has to be at least about 7 or 8 years old.
I think it is. Let's see.
Yeah, it is like the Nintendo Switch. I have a OLED Switch.
It came out in 2017.
Okay, but even when it came out, it was underpowered compared to the PS3, the PS4s, excuse me. It was still underpowered, but that's never really been Nintendo's thing. Is like having a powerhouse console. Like their thing is our first party titles are immaculate.
The thing
That's
is,
why
even on their consoles, have always had not a gimmick, but something that changed the landscape of the video game or the video game console landscape. And for the Switch, remember, it was portability. Look at the
yeah,
Steam Deck and all these other deck like things.
yeah. But Sony's coming. They don't came out with their little semi answer to it. The Switch, even though people classify the Switch as a console, and I honestly don't really consider it to be a console. I consider it to be a handheld. Because
Still console.
that's when it's at its most powerful, really to me, when it's in the handheld mode. Like, because I've played it hooked to the dock and on my TV, and it's like this don't really look that good when you blow it up. But on a smaller screen, it looks good. But I gotta get it. Like the probably for them to even fight Nintendo, they would probably need millions of dollars to fight Nintendo.
Need a
And with them
fortune.
with their company and them just basically saying we'll settle is just basically them saying, look, we'll we will stop this. Just don't sue us into the ground.
They, whew, if people understand, like, oh, you've just reminded me of something. Not to go off topic, but it does to deal with this. During the '90s, I forget the name of the company. Someone mentioned this during when I was watching a couple of videos. There was something that allowed, and this is for the Sega Dreamcast back then. It allowed them to play PS1 games on their console. It was like uh, God, what was that company
Yeah, because
called?
you could
It was
the
an
Dreamcast. I think the Dreamcast you could actually rip like CD-ROMs to it.
I think that's what it was allowing to happen, or it didn't. But it was it, and the same thing was used for Mac as well. If you had a Mac, you could use it was a similar device to play PS1 games on your Mac back in the day during the '90s. But that company got like they didn't lose the lawsuit, but they just got buried in court fees. Like they couldn't keep fighting that, even though I mean, could have won what they were doing. But anyways,
But
continue.
it's the weirdest thing with Nintendo. And Sony does the same. A lot of Sony does it too when it comes to like these old games that they have no intentions of ever re-releasing or anything like that, but they still want to have the option to re-release them and make money for it. And
Give
I'm
us
like,
bloody roar, damn it!
if you're not gonna do anything with it, who cares if somebody emulates it and makes a little money off of it? You're not doing anything with it anyway.
I mean, they don't even have to sell it. Like, I mean, damn. Like,
Well, you're not really technically selling it. It's like, hey, it's a little tip jar over here. Y'all can
just
just
to
put a little.
preserve. I mean, well, making emulators is not against the law here, anyways. But I mean, preserving certain games and everything. It just like why? Why get mad at people for like preserving like certain things? Because excuse me, there are certain things that just cannot be replicated because of without the technology.
Yep, Panzer Dragoon.
Are they? That's been re-released though, I believe.
Mm-mm. I
Huh?
don't think it was something with it. It was one game Sony had that they basically said they couldn't redo it because they lost the files to it.
I think that was Crash Bandicoot,
No, it was Panzer Dragoon. I remember that one because they said they couldn't do it because they had lost the original files and stuff.
bruh.
And I'm like, see, this is why people emulate stuff.
Well, I mean, take a look at. We'll use a crazy example here. Freaking Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. People have been making fresh new characters for that game. Maximilian put out their what was it? Just a bounty of like, hey, here's $5,000. Anybody can make a engine or whatever, like reverse, put stuff into this game, which someone did. Holy crap! And because usually if you did a mod, it'd have to be a palette swap or something.
Yeah, because I know I've seen the one with what Cyclops.
Dude, Cyclops looks so cool.
Uh, what is it? I get it though. I understand. Like I understand why they doing it. It's just like it just sucks that they're doing it.
I mean, they're well within their rights, but we won't ever really know what was going on because it's most of this is hearsay, and I think the Yuzu developers pretty much are like,
Was
this
it
goes to
was it
court, we're
something
screwed.
Was it something that they filed in court in Japan or they filed it here?
It was filed here, from my understanding. But I mean, even so, it's one of those things you just will be screwed. It's one of those things. If we fight, we're screwed. Even if they could win, but like I said, during that discovery process, if something is found out, oh man,
Yeah. Even
they're
if
up the
they
creek
did,
without a paddle.
even if they could win, they would be bankrupt. Nintendo would have bankrupt them by the time they got their victory, so it'll be a hollow one at that.
Yep.
That's kind of how these major companies work. They know that you don't have the finances to fight them, and it because you would pretty much go bankrupt trying to fight some of these big corporations, and they know that. That's why a lot of people just like it's not worth the headache. I'll just settle, and we can go make an amicable deal, and we just go our separate ways.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just, well, this is not going to end either. This could end with us behind bars or a slap on the wrist of like $2.4 million. Because the last thing anybody did, Nintendo did, was a couple of years ago. Dude owes them like $10 million.
Yeah. Cause you have to know Nintendo watch because with Power World when the guy made the put it on Nexus mod and actually made it where you could be Ash Ketchum and then replaced all the pals with actual Pokemon. Nintendo was on that like the second that like pretty much like right when it came out, they like, oh get that down.
If I remember, that was also a paid wall mod. So anything that's like got our stuff and it's paywall, zap. Just just don't do that.
I'm like, it's just silly. But you just know Nintendo's watching, especially when it comes to their IPs and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, just beware, folks. Be safe out there. The Nintendo ninjas might be lurking.
Mm, so let's go ahead and get into the
The
biggest topic
main
of the night.
the main topic, the buzz that has been going on for like the past 2 weeks. My God.
And that's
Oh,
Sweet Baby.
oh my goodness. You have no idea how much joy I get out of seeing this, but also how much I hate it too. And I'll say why I hate it. But Mr. Chris, what do you know about the whole Sweet Baby Inc. situation?
They first came to my attention more so with the Suicide Squad game that just got released, and just their involvement with that, and them basically changing pretty much the narrative of the game almost. But and then you informed me probably I think on the last podcast, the podcast before last, that they actually was involved with Spider-Man too in
Uh
its
huh.
development. And that's when a lot of stuff started to click in my head with how that game and why I really didn't like that one compared to the first one.
Now,
But
here, go ahead.
I didn't even know that they were involved with Mortal Kombat with MK1
Uh-huh. You want to know what really kicked this whole damn thing off?
Starfield.
No. Some dude on Steam
Oh
made,
yeah, he
made a
made the curate.
group. He just made a group. He didn't tell you to buy these games or not to buy these games, but these were the games that Sweet Baby Inc. were involved in. Ooh, man, that pissed them off. And I will tell you the rabbit hole that has been unleashed. The staff. Now, I some of the staff that are in Sweet Baby Inc. You will remember Gamergate. I remember Gamergate. I don't know if you do or
Hmm.
not, Mr. Chris. You
No, I remember it.
remember Anita Sarkeesian, Brianna Wu, all
Yeah,
these other.
I remember those people. I try not. I'm trying to be nice here.
I know, but where Anita Sarkeesian failed, Sweet Baby Inc. succeeded in, like being a consultant firm and everything. Now, over the past several days of like the week, last week and the week before, a lot of these people that have been in this company have exposed themselves as racists, and I am not kidding. Me, I'm a white guy. Mr. Chris is a black man. We get along, no problem. One of these people, I believe, was like Lego
Yeah.
Butts, or whatever their name was. Some of their tweets were like, "I just had a dream where I woke up as a white gamer." I'm like, what? Why do you think this way? What is your problem? What is going on? Who pissed in your cereal? And this rabbit hole goes so deep. Like they started up around 2014, if I remember, and this is when Gamergate started. The people that are in this company are pretty much refugees from Gamergate. And for those that don't know what Gamergate is, um, I'm doing my best to remember this right off the top of my head, so please do forgive me. If anybody has any correct information, put them in the comments below. I remember being around that time, I was reading stuff. I'm seeing gaming outlets start hating on us gamers. I'm like, huh? And what seemed to have been the biggest outing was between like the audience and the journalists at that point was there was one lady. She was taking sexual favors as payments for like a couple of articles, if I remember correctly. The
Yeah,
dude didn't get.
to get good. She was giving sexual favors to get favorable reviews for her game.
I don't know if that was it. You're probably right. Forgive us for not hitting this too directly because I don't want to like dive down to a rabbit hole back all to 2014. But that was kind of the gist of it, and because of that, a lot of us folks are like, "Hey, this is a problem. Why are you calling us all these bad things?" Well, you're a Nazi. And when I say this, I'm not referring to the German War II political party. Someone pointed this out probably last year, and I thought it was a good analogy. It's like when they say a Nazi, you're like not seeing our point of view, not agreeing with our point of view. It's like, you know what? It's a pretty good analogy. Instead of like being Nazi, not Swiss us. All right, that was kind of my own take on that, but my goodness, I want to, and this has affected in 2014. Everything was semi-normal. Didn't really know anything what was called woke ideology or whatever like we do today. My God, I hate having to do this. Oh, it's painful. But give me a moment. I'm going to switch over to another screen real fast that has a clip I want to show y'all. This is from the CEO of Sweet Baby Inc. As a consultant group, this is what has caused us so many issues. As like why we've had. Let me put it to you this way: I don't understand this, and I will never understand this. Some of y'all remember the game Forspoken. I was sort of excited for it. I waited, didn't buy it, saw what happened to it. Sweet Baby Inc. helped with the story and narrative and all that. Guess what happened to that studio that developed Forspoken? Mr. Chris, what happened?
They went out of business.
Yeah, they could close down.
$100 million disaster.
And Sweet Baby Inc., nothing happened. Slid on to the next thing. I'm like, how? They're a consultant firm. These are people that do not need to be. They're the ultimate grifters in gaming right now, and it pisses me off. These people are ruining things for all of us, demanding for inclusivity and all that. And it's like, no, the way y'all are going about it, you're just blatant racists, demanding and sexist, demanding all this stuff out of companies, making them fear they want to like get close. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me play all this clip so y'all understand this. This is from the 2019 GDC session. Miss Kim Belair shares. Now, let me get this up and I will get this switched over. Mr. Chris, are you still there?
Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect. All right. I'm sorry for the video quality. This is from OffX. or Twitter. So just listen to this for me.
If you're a creative working in AAA, which I did for many, many years, put this stuff up to your higher ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want. Because they have to consider, like, I say that all out as a joke, but it's actually very, very true, because if you start to consider the people who are player and audience facing and who have to deal with mitigating harm and with keeping the sentiment around their game and their project positive, there's like a genuine value that you can impress upon them with both ethically and financially. You can say this is important. And it's also a valid discussion to have, because if you're working with a very thin narrative budget and you work in AAA, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised or dismayed by the amount of money that marketing can give you. If you're
Okay. Sorry, I was letting that play for the section of YouTube there. Mr. Chris, here's the clip. Give me a moment. These people are horrible. They have gone to every length to hurt a lot of companies, and it just burns me. There's the I sent it to you, Mr. Chris, if you want to check out the clip. There was a 20-second version. I felt this almost near minute one would have been better for some folks. These people literally go in and just threaten them, basically. If some people remember Anita Sarkeesian, and I think it was EA, she was sort of pretty much, it was like an open-ended threat, basically. No, it was CD Projekt Red. That's who it was, 2019, I believe, or 2018. She's like, you look like you're about to have a big sexual scandal disaster. Hey, you can hire me for consulting, all this and that.
A consulting fee.
Yeah, pretty much. And they're
CD
like,
CD Projekt Red basically told her to go F herself.
yeah. And where she failed, and I don't understand how these people failed upwards for so many years. Like, if I remember this picture correctly, Anita Sarkeesian and Brianna Wu, of all people, were sitting in front of the UN Council. Of all things. Like, they are the least qualified people to be there. You and I would say are more qualified. Dear Lord. Maybe I'm saying too much, but
Anita Sarkeesian was not even a gamer.
No. I don't
like her boyfriend, I can't remember his name. He pretty much wrote all her little scripts and stuff, taught her everything she knew. She didn't play games. She went to a GameStop to take that little picture where she has this stack of Xbox 360 games. I'm like, and she couldn't tell you one thing about any of those games.
And then let's see, her Patreon series or whatever it was called.
Sexism in gaming.
Yeah, I think it lasted like 6 episodes. Her podcast barely lasts. Like I said, it's not really about them. They're the past, but their cohorts are still here to this day, and are an annoyance. I know I might sound like. Oh, hang on. Oh, are you there, Mr. Chris?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I thought my thing was like not recording. I'm sorry. I'm a little too passionate here about this. But I mean, I don't understand how these people have been allowed to go on for this long, and I should have put more together early on than later. This is just through some research. You know the company BlackRock, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big financial /investment firm that run it. This may not be the most accurate amount, but they have
they really deal in like
$91 trillion their disposal.
Somewhat, because they're
in everything.
They basically deal with people's 401ks,
and
that's their main money source.
supposedly, I'm not going to get too crazy in this, but there's something that's called an ESG score.
Mm-hmm.
And these consulting firms like Sweet Baby Inc. help you get a good one because that's where the money is,
Because
which
the
is
higher your ESG score is, the more money you can borrow from them, the more money they'll pay you.
the
The
lower interest
CEO,
rates you have and all that.
yep, the CEO himself came out. I forgot what it was. It was a financial talk, and he was talking about this stuff. And he says we said we can't just leave it up to people. We have to force behaviors in people now. And I'm like,
God,
yeah, I
what
can see
was
where this
that?
is going.
What year was that? That
I
was
can't. It was, I think it was like either last year or the year before last. It's an older clip, and he talks about how they're using the ESG stuff to basically force behaviors, try to force people to change behaviors and stuff like that. And they're using basically movies and games and stuff like that to try to change people, try to forcibly change people.
and this is why a lot of our media, Western media in general, I'll say, is trash. Now, I will say the work they've done to hurt the gaming industry is, and this might be giving too much credit here, about 25% of the reason why a lot of companies are having such are doing such big cutbacks. But then again, after because during COVID of 2020, gaming it blew up even more because nobody could go anywhere. And another thing is over budget. These budgets, these games
Yes,
have had, and I don't want to use Suicide Squad as another example, but I'll use this as an
you can use
example.
Spider-Man as one. Spider-Man 2. That game was over $300 million
These
in a
don't
budget.
these don't need to be that they don't. I'm going to be an old person here for a minute. I'm 34, I ain't that old, but back when the PlayStation 2 was going on, there were so many games that were like just $40 that were great. They weren't that big, but they were great. They had a great art style, which carries some of them to this day. Which I'd have to go pick some out, but we'll use some great examples right now. A great
Okay.
example of a live service game, Helldivers 2. No, have I played it? No. But I've seen the way all the systems operate. I watch people play it. It's great. Another great game, and Helldivers is only $44. Now, another game I know I've played, Pal World. That's only $28. I want y'all to understand something here when I tell you this, and this is without subtracting anything. This is just the basic maths here. They have 25 million players as of like last week, I think it was. Just take that general number, times that by $28. You want to know how much money that is? Take a guess, Mr. Chris.
I would hate to even guess.
That's around $700 million of just players alone. If people bought it. I mean, yes, granted, it's buggy and all that, but it's fun.
Yeah, I've never heard. I've heard no one talk ill about Helldivers.
No, nor Power World. These are great games.
But then you have the flip side. And
Uh,
Mr. Jeshua, do you remember a game called The Avengers?
let's try. I'm trying not to.
A
I won't talk
game
about
that
it.
cost you $60 and literally sold you tons of DLC costumes. The game was buggy as hell and didn't even last a year. Pretty much it lasted 1 year. And then they completely shut down the servers. So now you got a $60 game sitting on your shelf that is basically is basically a coaster.
Same
And you
with
can't do anything with it.
Anthem. Remember Anthem?
Oh yeah, I have 2 copies of it.
Oh, you poor bastard.
I have an
that ge-
Xbox copy and I have a PlayStation copy.
I think there's some private servers for the game that are up. I
I don't
think.
know. I don't care anymore.
I don't blame
I
you.
was I was a day one buyer of that game. and I was playing the crap out of that game, and then it's like halfway through, I'm like, man, this game is the flying and stuff is really good, but these missions are really repetitive, and it's not really too much to do. And even when you go online to play with each other, you're still doing the same repetitive missions all over again. I'm like, ugh. I beat the game, and I'm kind of like, I got all the suits, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'll just go play something else.
Yeah, that's essentially what it was. It is saddening.
But
Like,
that is the main problem though with the industry now. Not only with the sweet babies, but with the live service stuff, because that's
like
where they're trying to move everything to.
live service was pushed too much. All these crazy, huge budget movie like budgets. Holy crap! Please stop. Like,
And
you can make a great game. Pal World was only made with hopes and dreams, a bucket of flash drives, and 10 grand.
has that game's it's made over what? It's made over about $4 or $5 million. I think it's
I
like
just
what 12.
no, I just told you it. Okay, they had 25 million players. Was as the biggest amount they had. Think about
Yeah,
this. I don't know how many people bought it, but you just took that number, you took the price of $28. That's almost around $700 million.
because I know like when you have because Game Pass too, you got to add those players in.
So it's like a 50-50 here and there of like what's what. But I mean, it,
But the thing with Sweet Baby that irks me is that once I started looking at some of the games that they were involved with, a lot of stuff started clicking in my mind. I'm like, this is why Spider-Man 2 sucks so much.
yeah,
Because when you play Spider-Man 2, they force Miles into a whole lot of places he shouldn't be. Like you could literally take Miles out of that game and it would not change anything about it. The narrative, the story, the gameplay, everything would be still the same. But it's like they try to make him so they give him so many more powers in this game to the point where he makes Peter look, obsolete. They have to give Peter the little mechanical legs like from the what's the red suit?
it's the Iron
It's
Spider.
yeah, the Iron Spider stuff. To basically have him where he can keep up with Miles. And then they for some reason they force Mary Jane into this game so much that it gets annoying. Even at the very end of the game when we're supposed to be fighting Venom, Venom grabs us, flies out of a window with us, and instead of us going to actually fight him or swing around the city doing combat, no, we go back to a Mary Jane running gun section. Mary Jane becomes Scream and becomes a symbiote, so we got to fight her again. It seems like it's like the game doesn't really focus on Peter. It focuses on Miles and Mary Jane. And it's like the whole time I'm playing, it's like, why am I having to deal with these two? I want to play Peter Parker. That's what I bought this game for, and this is the game that I'm most excited for because I love Spider-Man, and it's like I barely get any time to play him, and
But
when I do
Chris,
get
didn't you want your Black Spider, man? Your representation. Please don't
no,
hit me.
no, because he's not Spider-Man. I get so sick and tired of people with that. He is not Spider-Man. That's why anything you see with him on it says what? Miles Morales Spider-Man. It doesn't just say you see Peter stuff, it says what?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. He is not Spider-Man. I prefer much call him Peter Darker. Cause that's basically all he is. Even his villains, all his villains are Peter's villains. It's like he has nothing that really separates him outside of the Venom Sting stuff. All he is Black Peter Parker and Jordan 1s. That's it. And I honestly don't care nothing about him. The movies, they do a little bit better of separating him from Peter, But even with those, it's like those are like standalone things. When it comes to the comics and the games, the toys, I don't care about Miles Morales like that. Even though I'm probably not even gonna buy the third game because they pretty much said that he is going to be the Spider-Man going forward. And I'm like, well, I'm just not buying your next game then until you bring Peter back.
Pretty much. It. They just I don't like. We're really trying not to be mean here, folks, but it's ridiculous. I grew one of back when I think it was like I was getting back into comics when Marvel 3 was getting released. I saw X-23. This is when big time big time for Spider-Man was coming out. This is when he was dealing with like the Sinister Six coming back and all this craziness. And I swear, like after 2016, comics just stopped being good. American comics. All these and we're really trying not to harp on all this, but I mean all this stuff is just it's almost been ruined. It's been ruined. And I'm not kidding. Like Hasbro tried to sell off Dungeons and Dragons not too long ago. They couldn't sell it to anybody, of crying out loud, because of all the damages they've done. My God, Dungeons and Dragons is like the epitome of like all right, here's a set of rules. That's it. All right, here's some suggested classes and all that. But when you start telling me orcs, it's a mythical race. And people started like, well, orcs are like black people. I'm sorry, what? How do you take that to that? No, stop. And then for another stupid thing I saw, and this blew my mind, and this was some years back. Oh yeah, we're gonna put like animals. You know how like some animals may only have two legs. Look at the wheelchair. They've had companions with that stuff. I think that was I don't know if that was introduced in 5.0 or whatever. I'm just like, why would you do this? Why? I can't think of a person I know that's like wheelchair bound that wants to be in a wheelchair in a fantasy game, a fantasy setting. You know how insane that is? And the only time I can like think of like someone like in a wheelchair was like in a couple of different shows, like Avatar: The Last Airbender. The kid that was in a wheelchair, he's a really smart engineer, along with his grandpa. So, all right, but I mean that was like steam engine stuff and all that. But I mean, God, I mean another person that was like,
Joshua, you didn't read the Spider-Man book where you had the disabled Spider-Man with the wheelchair on her back and she's swinging around the city?
that made no goddamn sense. I want to die after seeing that. Like I wanted to.
How does this even work? How does she stick to wall? When she lands, does she have to swing the chair from her back to let it out so she can land?
I don't know. Like I mean, if you like a different Spider-Man, Miguel O'Hara, when he came out, he's another Spider-Man, but he's in the far flung future.
Yeah, that's why I didn't have a problem with him.
I mean, and all his powers come from his suit and some DNA splicing because the company he worked for is trying to recreate Spider-Man. The daggum, what's another one? God, some people are going to hate the comments, whatever. Freaking people with, God, I'm trying not to like get too far off. But let me just turn this bus back onto the subject. Let's put it this way, folks. A lot of stuff all of us have cared for. Oh, actually, no. I wanted to get back on this. Another cool person in a wheelchair, Professor Xavier. I don't know if you remember the PlayStation 1 fighting game that the X-Men had, but you could play as Professor Xavier and Spider-Man in that game.
It wasn't Children of the Atom, was it?
No, this was it was a 3D. There was all 3D models on a 2D plane. is on 2D sprites at all.
I mean, it's been so long. I might have played
I'll
it
look
and
it
just.
up and show you later once we're done with this. But folks,
But even with that, when you look at Mortal, when I said you can look at Mortal MK1, and you look at the male characters and you look at the female characters. The male characters are all super duper hot guys, all muscly and everything. And then you get to the female characters and they look just as plain and ordinary. And I'm like, when I look at Kitana, and I know they used the martial artist girl, Jimma Nguyen, I think that's what her name is. And she's a pretty girl, but Princess Kitana is supposed to be a smoke show. Like she's supposed to be so hot that she's way out of Liu Kang's league. Now it's kind of like the reverse. And you just look at the costumes of the women in that game and just the faces and stuff. You like, and the story narrative. It's like every time you see Sweet Baby on something, and you start looking at the story. It's like, God, like even with the Suicide Squad, they're not using Deadshot. They're using the race swap Deadshot that they've done so far. And I'm like a lot of this stuff just every time you start looking at the stories and it just doesn't make sense, so you feel like, man, this is just like something just off in this game. I can't put my finger on it, but just something just doesn't feel right. And that's exactly how I felt with Spider-Man. Like I'm playing, because the first Spider-Man, my wife would tell you when that game came out, I was literally every day playing that game. This one came out and I was like, played a few minutes of it, put it down, then come back to it about a week and a half later. And I said, oh yeah, let me go back to this game and go ahead and finish it. It was just the whole time I'm just like something's off about this game. Like something, like narratively speaking, something just doesn't fit right in this game. And I just couldn't put my finger on it. And all the games that I have that Sweet Baby worked on, it's the same thing. Like something just it's just off in the game, and you just like, I can't put my finger. It's just something weird about this game.
yeah, I don't know. We've and I mean their things are slowly swinging back in the favor of in the culture war basically. And I'm not
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
to the politics and all that, but
Well, you can't. Well, it's hard. It's hard to run a business when you're losing millions of dollars.
yeah. I mean, we have great comics that have come out like Soul Finder, Common America, um, the Ripperverse. Definitely highly recommend these. I mean, you've got
Yep.
great games for great low prices like Pal World, Helldivers 2. I mean, there are many more bangers coming. So,
And the fact that, and they're gonna say that we're instant phobes and stuff, like my most anticipated game this year. What is it?
hmm?
I said it's my most anticipated game.
Dragon's Dogma 2?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
It's a female led game.
oh, Stellar Blade.
Yes,
I'm stealing your
I'm
PS5 in that game for like a week.
yeah, I'm such a sexist that I'm a day one adopter of a game with a female Korean lead in it.
What people don't understand, and I think refuse to understand. Well, these, let me rephrase that. The people that are all in uproar of like she looks 14, all that. No, I'm sorry. We're just trying not to reharp on anything. The woman they used for the 3D scans is 32 years old, and she's a bombshell. Yes, they did not use her face because they already had the face made for the model. That just kind of goes with it. I don't understand why anybody doesn't want a female lead, but I guess if they're not,
Most of these people that don't want a female lead is usually these. How do I want to say this?
say it, get it out of the way.
Are usually like these wildebeest looking women that don't like the fact that there are pretty girls out there that make them look very average. And
You're not wrong.
I'm sorry. There are a lot of women that are out there that are nice, fit, shaped women.
A woman's jealousy knows no bounds. I will not, and I'm not lying.
It's just
It
like
is.
what's that Fable? The main character of Fable was supposed to be a woman, but she looks like a dude.
I don't know. I try to ignore it. Fable is so cool, but oh well. You know how it goes.
Because even when I played Mass Effect, like I always make a fem ship. I've always been fem ship, and I played my female shepherd all the way through all 3 games. And when it came to Andromeda, I made it. Was it what I did? I made
You
another
couldn't make a
female.
female shepherd in the first Mass Effect.
Oh, you could. They didn't look that great.
Okay, maybe I'm. Hold on. I have played Mass Effect enough to know Mass Effect 1 did not have a creative character.
No, I remember having one.
You might be talking to the Legendary Edition.
No, because I played. No, I played the original ones. Because I remember Mass Effect it being you could be male or
Hold on.
female.
I am probably wrong. Holy shit. Hold on. No, hold on. I'm not. Oh, I want Mass Effect 1. Damn it. I hate that we're doing this right now during this podcast. Damn it. Hold on. Because I don't remember Mass Effect 1. Because it was originally only a 360 game. This stuff's giving me the damn, holy shit. There was a creative character. I just played Default Shepherd. What? Huh.
Yeah,
Well,
like you, like I said, anytime I've had a. Oh, go ahead.
Never mind. Ignore me. Ignore me. I misspoke. I'm gonna shut up now.
But anytime I've had a creative character, like I either make a male version or sometimes I just make a female. It's just whatever I want to do. Like I play Hogwarts Legacy. I have a female character in that one.
It is very dependent if I do a female character or not. I think it was like Street Fighter 6. I made the avatar female. I said like whatever. I think a couple of my playthroughs back at Dragon's Dogma 1, I did like 2 males, 1 female. I played that game like 10 times. I'm old now.
But it's more like just who cares? It's a fantasy.
Right. That's why I was just like back what I said with Dungeons and Dragons. You can be whatever the hell you want. You don't. It's you can adjust the rules to your own way. The only thing is just keep the combat rules the same, like your combat rolls and all that. There's nothing else you need to really do. But I mean, well, screw what I know.
But I'm liking the fact that Steam basically is standing behind the curator and basically saying, no, we're not going to shut down his curating his group. And I'm like, well, if you're so proud of your games, why are you afraid to let people know that you worked on them? And it's definitely bad for Sweet Baby because it's bad when the CEO or Warner Brother basically puts all the blame on you for the Suicide Squad not performing.
Yeah. Here,
And I'm looking like every game y'all touch seems to just go straight into the toilet.
Yep. Now here is a great example where consulting is probably needed. Ghost of Tsushima. They went and consulted some people like historians and all that. If you have to consult somebody to do writing for you, you need to fire your writing staff, hire new ones that are good, and keep them in house.
But that's the thing though. The Sweet Baby comes in and then they basically try to almost take over the writing or basically force you to write, like you have to write a character a certain way. There has to be LGBT, at least one LGBT character in the game. Like you're forcing story elements into the game that affect the overall game, and it doesn't fit. And like if you're gonna have them come in and do all that, then you need to get, like you said, you need to get a new lead writer and just start all over again.
I mean, we'll use a fighting game that's been around for a long time, Tekken. Tekken is like one of the biggest diverse casts you will ever find. There's almost like every representation there, even all the way down to the animal kingdom. Freaking bears, pandas.
All the way down to pieces of wood.
Yeah, living logs fighting you. Lord of mercy. Even dinosaurs. Even a freaking NASCAR from like Sega Rally or Daytona Sega Rally or something like that. I can't remember which one had that. I think Virtual Fighter had that. Anyways,
But
I don't have much more to say on the subject. Do you?
I think the industry is actually learning that
Yeah.
these people being involved with your game is not a good thing.
Yeah.
And basically, we as the customer and the consumer, the only thing we can do is to vote with our wallet. If you know they're involved with it, don't pay for it. Don't buy the game.
Yep.
That's the only message they understand.
It sucks that it has to be that way, but it has to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's screw them.
Because I've already tweeted at Stellar Blade their social media. I'm like, if you give me a statue of her, I will happily give you $300.
Careful what you ask for, Chris. Oh, speaking of, I meant to say this earlier. Some of those that like Ghost of Tsushima, that's getting a PC release too, and number 2 is as well later this year.
No, I haven't even finished the first one.
Well, you know what you must do.
I got too many games.
I got too many games.
Final Fantasy Remake, I gotta finish that. Ghost of Tsushima, I gotta finish that. Cyberpunk, I gotta start that. Hogwarts, I gotta finish that. Jedi Fallen Order, I gotta finish that. Jedi Survivor, I gotta finish that. Like the list goes on and on.
Poor man.
Because a lot of times I buy a game even though I haven't finished it just so I know I have it. Because I'm more so mad because I sold a game I shouldn't have sold, and now it's like Sekiro.
You poor man. You can get it back.
Yeah, not at some of the prices they trying to charge for a physical copy.
Yeah. Oh, any more opinions on this whole Sweet Baby incident?
Nah, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Which is
annoying people. Go ahead.
My biggest thing with them is that Sweet Baby might be dying, but they're probably gonna rebrand and come under a different name, or they're gonna try to hide themselves now.
Oh, they won't. They will not.
No, that's all my opinions on it.
Yeah.
If we get into the comic book thing, I'm gonna lose my mind, especially when it comes to that all new, all different.
Oh yeah. But folks, thank you for listening to us rant a little bit. We're sorry if you may disagree with some of us on this, but I mean, hey, that's why we call it the question perspective. We respect most opinions on here, except for stupid ones. Y'all have a good night.
See y'all later.